Jimmy Kimmel didn't just get sidelined by ABC, he turned his own suspension into comedy. After 2 decades of being one of the most recognizable faces in late-night television, fans were stunned when Jimmy Kimmel Live was suddenly yanked from national TV. No warning, no grand announcement, just gone. But instead of lying low or begging for sympathy, Kimmel did what he does best. He mocked the very network that pulled the plug on him. His response wasn't just petty or sarcastic, it turned the entire situation into a late-night joke that fans and critics can't stop talking about. Imagine buying tickets, lining up outside the Hollywood studio, feeling the buzz of the cameras and lights, only to be told by security, "Sorry, show's not happening tonight, go home." That's exactly what happened to fans who had no idea they were about to witness one of the biggest shakeups in modern late-night history. And when word got out, the internet exploded with theories, memes, and outrage. Was this punishment for a controversial joke? Was it politics? Or was it just ABC panicking to protect advertisers? Jimmy's mocking reaction made the story 10 times bigger, transforming what could have been a silent suspension into a viral storm. And if you love staying ahead of Hollywood drama, power moves, and behind-the-scenes chaos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, it takes 1 second, and it keeps you plugged in to every twist. For fans, the night started like any other taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live. People showed up with tickets in hand, buzzing with excitement to be part of a late-night tradition. The stage lights were on, security checked IDs, and the line outside the Hollywood Boulevard studio wrapped around the block. But instead of laughter and applause, what they got was a surreal disappointment. Security guards abruptly told people the show wasn't happening and instructed everyone to leave. No warm-up comedian, no explanation, just canceled on the spot. Back at home, the confusion was even worse. Viewers across the country tuned in expecting Jimmy's opening monologue, only to find that ABC had swapped out his show for reruns, movies, and even weather reports. In some states, entire markets cut the broadcast altogether, leaving fans staring at random programming where late-night comedy used to live. When ABC finally addressed the situation, they used the most chilling phrase in television: indefinite suspension. That single word, indefinite, struck harder than an outright cancellation. A cancellation has closure. A host knows the job is done. But indefinite means limbo. It's like being benched in a game without knowing if you'll ever get back on the field. For a host like Kimmel, it's career purgatory. No timeline, no clarity, and no chance to defend yourself. Fans described the experience as whiplash. One day, they were laughing at his monologues. The next, he was simply erased from the airwaves. Online, people compared it to getting dumped by text. Not a breakup, not a makeup, just an awkward silence that stretched into uncertainty. And while the audience tried to make sense of it, one question burned hotter than all the others. What could Jimmy possibly have said that made ABC hit the nuclear button?
If there's one thing Jimmy Kimmel has mastered over the years, it's turning uncomfortable situations into comedy. And even though ABC pulled him off the air, Jimmy found ways to flip the script and mock the network that sidelined him. Insiders whispered that he cracked jokes behind the scenes about ABC replacing his monologues with reruns of Shark Tank and endless weather updates, basically clowning the network for treating him like he was less valuable than a 7-day forecast. And then there was his silence. Normally, Kimmel can't resist weighing in on controversies with a sarcastic tweet or a sharp one-liner. But this time, nothing. No Instagram post, no quick jab on X, not even a vague joke to acknowledge the elephant in the room. To his fans, that silence wasn't weakness, it was mockery. It felt like Jimmy was letting ABC sweat it out while he sat back and watched the chaos unfold, almost as if his silence itself was the punchline. The internet, of course, took his lead and ran with it. Memes flooded social media within hours. One showed Kimmel's iconic desk swapped out for a lonely folding chair with the caption, "Indefinite seating." Another showed the Jimmy Kimmel Live logo edited to read Jimmy Kimmel Offline. Some fans even made parody schedules showing weather reports, late-night infomercials, and old sitcom reruns taking over his time slot, all with Jimmy's face in the background smirking. It was classic Kimmel humor, except this time the joke wasn't being told on ABC's stage. It was told at ABC's expense. His entire audience became part of the gag, amplifying his mockery until it felt bigger than any single monologue could have. But the network didn't just suspend him for fun. The real reason ABC pulled the plug was even more controversial.
So what exactly did Jimmy Kimmel say or do that pushed ABC to yank his show off national TV? That's the million-dollar question. And right now, nobody has a confirmed answer. But speculation is running wild. Some insiders claim it all traces back to a recent monologue where Kimmel took aim at powerful figures, both in Hollywood and in politics. His comedy has always walked the fine line between edgy and offensive, but this time he might have stepped just a little too far. According to online chatter, executives at ABC felt his jokes weren't just late-night banter. They were direct shots at relationships the network depends on to survive. Others point to Kimmel's history of stirring the pot. He's clashed with politicians, roasted celebrities who later pulled advertising, and even mocked the network itself in past episodes. To Jimmy, nothing was off limits, not even the very company writing his checks. And while Stans loved that rebellious energy, corporate boardrooms aren't known for having thick skin. If Kimmel embarrassed the wrong person, it wouldn't take long for a quiet phone call from upstairs to trigger the indefinite suspension button. And then there's the theory that his absence isn't about a single joke at all, but a brewing behind-the-scenes power struggle. With streaming platforms like Hulu and Disney Plus expanding, some speculate that ABC is shifting resources away from traditional late-night shows altogether. In that scenario, pulling Kimmel wasn't about punishment. It was about phasing him out without admitting it publicly. No matter which theory you believe, the common thread is clear. Something happened behind the curtain at ABC that executives desperately don't want fans to know. If ABC thought pulling Jimmy Kimmel from the air would quietly smooth things over, they underestimated the one group you don't want to mess with: his fans. The backlash was immediate, loud, and impossible to ignore. Within hours, hashtags like #BringBackKimmel and Kimmel Live started trending across social platforms. People weren't just disappointed, they were furious that their nightly routine had been stripped away without explanation. Die-hard fans flooded ABC's official pages with angry comments, accusing the network of censorship and corporate overreach. Some even threatened to boycott ABC programming altogether, vowing to not tune in until their favorite host was back behind the desk. A few fans took things a step further, tagging sponsors in their complaints, pressuring advertisers to demand answers from the network. For a company like ABC, that kind of public heat isn't just noise, it's a financial headache. And while executives stayed mostly silent, fans began filling in the blanks themselves. Message boards and Reddit threads lit up with theories. Everything from Jimmy being punished for political jokes to speculation that rival late-night hosts had secretly lobbied to get him off the air. Whether those theories were true or not didn't matter. What mattered was the sheer energy behind the movement. It wasn't just digital outrage either. Outside ABC headquarters in Los Angeles, small groups of protesters gathered, holding signs like "Justice for Jimmy" and "Late Night Without Kimmel is no laughing matter." Clips of these demonstrations went viral, further fueling the perception that this wasn't just a scheduling change, it was a battle between fans and the very network they once trusted. By trying to silence Jimmy, ABC accidentally amplified his voice. His absence became the story, and the fans turned it into a cultural moment. And as the backlash grew louder, one looming question emerged. Would this controversy actually force ABC to bring Kimmel back, or had the damage already been done? While fans made noise online, the ripple effects of Jimmy Kimmel's removal started hitting the entertainment industry itself. Late-night TV has always been a competitive battlefield, but this move by ABC sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Rival hosts suddenly found themselves in the spotlight, with some quietly celebrating the empty time slot, and others nervously wondering if they might be next. Industry insiders say networks are watching the situation very closely. If ABC can sideline one of late night's longest-running and most recognizable hosts without warning, what does that mean for the future of the entire format? For decades, shows like Jimmy Kimmel Live were seen as untouchable, part of the cultural fabric of late-night television. But now, it feels like even the biggest names aren't safe. Advertisers, too, have been caught in the crossfire. Brands who relied on Kimmel's audience suddenly lost a massive chunk of exposure. Some companies scrambled to renegotiate deals, while others started shifting budgets towards streaming platforms, where the rules and the risks feel less volatile. The late-night advertising market, once steady and predictable, was suddenly unstable. Even streaming giants were paying attention. Rumors began swirling that platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime might swoop in and offer Jimmy his own digital talk show, capitalizing on the controversy. If that happened, it wouldn't just be a win for Jimmy. It would be a death blow to traditional network television, proving that streaming isn't just competition, it's the future. The removal of Jimmy Kimmel wasn't just about one man losing airtime. It exposed the fragility of an entire industry. And the longer ABC stayed silent, the more it looked like they weren't in control of the narrative anymore. Jimmy was.
For a company as big as ABC, silence can be deafening. In the days after Jimmy Kimmel's show was yanked, the network gave the public almost nothing to work with. No press conference, no official timeline, not even a vague "we're evaluating the situation." Just that single phrase, indefinite suspension. And then radio silence. That lack of communication only made things worse. In an age where audiences expect instant transparency, ABC's refusal to clarify became its own story. Every day without a statement fueled more rumors. Was this about ratings? Was it political pressure? Did executives just want to push Kimmel out without the bad PR of calling it a cancellation? The absence of answers created a vacuum, and the internet had no problem filling it. What made things even stranger was how selective the silence seemed to be. While ABC ignored fans and media outlets, whispers from anonymous insiders started leaking to entertainment blogs, painting Kimmel as difficult to work with behind the scenes. Whether those leaks were true or not, many saw them as damage control, an attempt by the network to justify their decision without ever addressing it head-on. Meanwhile, other talk show hosts didn't stay quiet. A few of Kimmel's peers reportedly reached out privately to offer support, but in public, most stayed away, clearly afraid of drawing ABC's fire. It gave the whole situation an eerie, political vibe, like everyone in late night knew something but wasn't allowed to say it out loud. And through it all, Kimmel's silence remained just as loud as ABC's. Fans interpreted it as defiance, while critics saw it as strategy. Either way, the standoff was growing by the day, because at some point, someone was going to break, and whoever spoke first would control the narrative. With ABC refusing to speak, all eyes turned to Jimmy Kimmel himself. What would his next move be? Would he break his silence with a fiery monologue, or quietly negotiate behind closed doors? For a man who built his career on quick wit and biting commentary, his next words, or lack of them, would define how this entire saga played out. Some fans speculated he was preparing a massive comeback moment, saving up all of his jokes and frustrations for the first time he steps back onto a stage. They imagined an opening monologue so sharp, so unapologetic, that it would instantly go viral and embarrass ABC for ever sidelining him. Others believed he might ditch traditional television altogether, leveraging the controversy to jump straight into streaming or even watching his own independent show online. After all, Jimmy already has the audience. He doesn't need the network nearly as much as the network needs him. Behind the scenes, however, the pressure was immense. Kimmel's team had to weigh every option carefully. If he spoke out too soon, he risked burning bridges with a company that still technically held his contract. If he stayed quiet too long, fans might start to move on. It was a tightrope act, and every day of silence only raised the stakes. One thing was certain, Jimmy Kimmel has never been the type to walk away without making noise. Whether it's through a surprise appearance on a rival network, a viral social media post, or even a tell-all interview, insiders believe it's only a matter of time before Jimmy seizes back the spotlight. And when he finally does, it won't just be a comeback, it'll be a reckoning for ABC.
Jimmy Kimmel's sudden removal didn't just shake up ABC, it cracked open a bigger conversation about the future of late-night television itself. For decades, late-night shows were untouchable institutions. They weren't just about comedy, they were cultural markers, shaping how Americans ended their day. Johnny Carson had it, Letterman had it, and for years, Jimmy Kimmel carried that same torch. But now, his indefinite suspension feels like proof that even the giants aren't immune to change. The truth is, late-night TV isn't the powerhouse it used to be. Audiences have splintered across platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Netflix. Instead of staying up to catch a monologue live, people scroll their phones and watch highlights the next morning. That shift has put enormous pressure on networks to either evolve or get left behind. Kimmel's removal may not just be about one host, it might be a warning shot to the entire format. Other hosts are watching closely. If ABC can bench Kimmel, what's stopping NBC or CBS from doing the same to Fallon, Colbert, or Seth Meyers if ratings slip? The era of untouchable late-night stars may be coming to an end, replaced by a system where networks view hosts as replaceable parts instead of cultural icons. At the same time, the controversy shows just how much power the audience still holds. Kimmel's fans didn't quietly accept his absence. They turned it into a movement. And in a media world driven by clicks, shares, and hashtags, that energy is valuable currency. Networks might think they control the future, but fans proved they can flip the script with enough outrage. So while ABC may have intended this as a quiet suspension, it might end up being remembered as the moment late-night television itself changed forever. Jimmy Kimmel's suspension from ABC might have started as a network decision, but it quickly exploded into something much bigger. What began as a quiet programming change has turned into a cultural storm, raising questions about censorship, corporate power, and the very future of late-night television. Through it all, Kimmel has done what he does best: mock the absurdity of the situation, even if that mockery comes in the form of silence. Fans turned their outrage into a movement, the industry scrambled to figure out what it all means, and ABC's refusal to explain only deepened the mystery. Whether Kimmel returns to his late-night desk, makes the leap to streaming, or reinvents himself in a completely new way, one thing is clear: his voice isn't going anywhere. In fact, the controversy has made him more relevant than ever. This isn't just the story of one host versus one network. It's the story of a shifting industry, a passionate fan base, and a comedian who refuses to let corporate decisions dictate his legacy. And if history tells us anything, it's that Jimmy Kimmel's next move will have everyone talking. And hey, if you want to stay caught up with every twist in stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, it helps the channel grow, and who knows, you might even be the first to catch the next jaw-dropping twist in a Hollywood's drama.